All right, welcome back to another episode of Satisfying Static. I am firing up the random word generator, right? Meow.
Our favorite.
Our favorite. Ooh, pastel.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go.
Ooh,
So
okay, you have
pastel.
one for
So
this.
I do. So I'm a Redditor. I use Reddit.
Okay. All
You'll
right.
never. I'm never ever ever going to tell anyone my username because
Obviously.
Reddit is designed to be anonymous. God dang it. But I am on the Target subreddit. And the Target
Okay.
subreddit is actually just a subreddit full of Target employees. Have I ever been a Target employee? No, sure haven't. But I love to read them complain about working at Target. I don't know why, but it's my favorite.
Okay.
So, I think it was like a week ago maybe, this company, I think it's called Stone Clover, maybe? Oh, Lord, I'm going to Google it because I'm butchering it now. Hang on, 1 second.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Stone
Anyway,
Clover.
what do they do?
It. They're a clothing company. Is it Stone Clover? Stony Clover Lane. That's what it is. Stony Clover Lane is a
Okay.
travel slash fashion company that partnered with Target and released all this stuff that apparently a bunch of people were super into. They're
Okay.
all pastel colors. So
Okay.
people are posting on the Target subreddit. They're like, "I wish I could set the world on fire in pastel. I wish I could throw everything pastel into the dumpster." Like people were apparently being insane, like showing up to launch, selling everything out because they're buying like a $25 duffel bag, flipping it and selling it for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, it's
Like it's
ridiculous.
crazy. It's crazy, and it's like this
Target does
pukey
that.
pastel colored stuff that everybody like in the subreddit is roasting, and it's hilarious. So
That's hilarious.
subreddit has like a upvote and downvote feature. You're supposed to upvote relevant things, downvote unrelevant things. I always go to the bottom of the thing to see all the like super flamed downvoted things. Everybody that was downvoted was like, "I'm an employee and I use my 20% off discount to get my, my duffel bag. Like that's a cute like travel purse. Like, but these sandals are great." And I'm like, all these poor like 5 or 6 employees that got absolutely obliterated because of these pastel colored items that don't matter.
Oh my God.
That's
That's
the
so
last
funny.
time I heard the word pastel. That's why I shared it. That's all I've got.
That's really funny. I love that. That was a good one. I don't think I have as good of a story to match that. And I am not a Redditor, so but I'm very
I'm
familiar, so I know
shocked that
how it's supposed to
you're
work.
not a Redditor, honestly.
It just, I guess I haven't found the subreddit for me, although I did recently join a Discord and now I feel very out of the loop. But
So I, at one point, somebody asked me to launch a Discord for Kristine Kapow for people who are fans of mine to hang out and talk.
okay,
You need like a dedicated moderator team because if you just leave it open, people can put whatever they
like
want in
Reddit.
there.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
Reddit, right? Like if you open a subreddit, people can put whatever. So you need a
yeah,
dedicated moderated team and like have a review system. And I don't have the time or the people in my life to be moderators, so I didn't
that
do
makes
it.
sense. Yeah.
Other people have used it in, you know, as patrons. So like behind the Patreon paywall, you have access to a Discord, so you can have open
Oh, okay.
dialogue that I would sometimes chime in on or whatever. I've
Hmm.
considered that. Discord kind of terrifies me.
Does it?
They like
Me
take on
too.
like their own worlds of their own, and they don't store anything. So a lot of people use Discord to plan things or do things, and then
Hmm.
Discord can one day just be like, "Oh, oop, that was a hiccup. Sorry, all your stuff's gone. What? You missed that? Oh, it's gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, gone forever. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a data sync. They have no version of keeping anything, which
Okay.
in a few ways is good, right? Like for
Sure.
me, if I was concerned with like a legal issue that I had with somebody saying something to someone else in my Discord, I'd probably be okay. But like it's still kind of terrifying that there's no way of
Yeah.
like them feeding the back end. So it's like, oh, it just kind of disappears into the ethos. Like that's so I have not used Discord. So the fact that you use Discord and not Reddit surprises me.
Yeah, well, Discord felt a lot like Reddit, and so that's why I was avoiding it. But somebody I follow on TikTok started a she was looking for other 30 to 40 year olds and for some reason started a Discord for them, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense because I'm pretty sure nobody knows how to use a Discord. And that was literally her next video, was her laughing that nobody knows how to use it. I was like, what did you think? You asked a bunch of old people to use like a new app for us. Like, well, yeah,
Yeah,
nobody
yeah, that's
nobody knows how to
tough.
use it. So, but I did jump in there just to see what was going on because I thought that was hilarious. I was like, okay, so what do a bunch of people who don't know how to use Discord hang out and like
So
talk about?
is it just supposed to be like 30 and 40-year-olds connecting who use TikTok?
Basically, yeah.
Are they gay? This is normal people. Well, I should say gay is normal. I just
Okay.
meant heterosexual individuals. I didn't mean to make gay sound abnormal. I'm a lesbian.
No, you're good. I mean, I've done that before too. I think we all have, but
I
like,
want
yeah.
to skin myself alive right now. Oh my god.
Actually, I don't think so because I don't think the creator is.
Oh, okay.
So just like a bunch of random like middle-aged people on TikTok,
That just
and I was like, I don't
go
know,
in there.
let's just see what they talk about. It is exactly what you would think it is. It's kind of like Facebook, and so I don't use it anymore.
Well, what kind of bummed me out about Reddit was there's a huge TikTok hate on Reddit. They think TikTok's the most ridiculous thing. I frequently creep my own username on Reddit to make sure that no one is posting bad things about me on Reddit.
Don't say that.
I'm terrified. I'm such a freak, though. I have like this constant need to be
You're a people
liked.
pleaser.
I am a people pleaser, and so I had a recent video go viral about my student debt, and people were blowing up my comments saying that I was asking for help and I'm lazy and I took out all this debt and I'm dumb, and I'm like, no, I was trying to share that like we all struggle with celebrating small victories when we know we still have bigger tasks at hand, and people took that as me trying to be like, man, I have $200,000 of student debt, me, and I'm like, no, I wanted to share my struggle, and so I've spent days in that comment section like defending myself. So I could not stand if someone posted my face to Reddit and I got flamed on Reddit because that's like my safe place right now. Ugh.
Oh no, you should not have said that on a recording.
I know. Now somebody's gonna go on Reddit and flame me.
know.
The good news is
Just
our
to mess with
podcast
you.
isn't popular enough that I think anyone would care to do that. So that's good.
Okay, fair. But still, yeah, that's your safe space. That's an interesting safe space. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's a safe space for a lot of people since you get to be anonymous. But
You do get to have pretty
Discord,
large
no idea.
anonymity there. I may or may not have been an anonymous gifter of sorts on Reddit, where I helped some college students procure some college textbooks in some interesting ways that dance around the legalities of things. But yeah, and I somebody sent me like a suture kit on Reddit, and somebody hooked me up with like a word bank login that their school had given them for free when I was studying for the PANTS, for the PA test that you have to take. Yeah, so Reddit's actually been super useful.
That's nice. I'm glad you found a community there.
Yeah, but it's tough because you're connecting only in text. You're not connecting with with like voice or video, which is how I usually connect. So
yeah, I think that's what's off-putting to me about Discord. Maybe I just haven't like unlocked that level of like sending videos back and forth, but it is really just like chat. And
there's a level you can unlock a level.
No, I mean just like I haven't learned it enough.
Oh, you mean like you mentally unlocked it? I think
yeah,
like
mentally. There's like levels you get to. Although that would make it more cool, wouldn't it?
100%. I was gonna say, so let's unpack that though, because my brain is immediately like, oh, there's a leveling system. I'm in.
Yeah, right. I know.
I'm
so
in.
like that would
that
would be cool.
How do I do that?
There's definitely an idea there. I don't understand why people don't do that. Like, oh, you unlock creator mode once you've followed 10 accounts or something. You know
Humans
what I mean?
are very easy. We are very easy to please, and giving us award systems. So my sensei in jiu-jitsu talked about this the other night. He's learning piano. Okay. And his teacher is like this very old woman, and she's like, would you like to opt in or out of the stickers? And he's like, excuse me, what? And she's like, here's a board. If you get so many stickers, you reach the next level. Would you like to be a part of that or not? And he goes, oh, 100% I'm in. Yeah. I want all the stickers. I want to learn. I want all the stickers. I want to take my sticker sheet home and go, I have completed these stickers. And I'm like, no, 100%. I absolutely, I'm like nodding my head the whole time he's saying this. He's like, Kristine knows. I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't care how dumb it is. I want the tangible thing that says you did the things.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I have a validation thing. Don't judge me.
I think a lot of us do. So that makes sense, especially with social media. All the likes and comments and blah 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 are a form of validation. So yeah, I mean that would be really smart for whoever runs a social media app that's listening to this.
Yeah.
Should probably work on building that in.
Yeah.
But
Do we have anything else to say about pastels?
what did I have to say about pastels? Oh, pastels really just make me think of Easter, but maybe it's also the time of year. And also
Yeah.
for some reason, I mean, like, I don't get me wrong, I love pastels. My whole apartment is basically like pastel and gray.
What are pastels considered? Like soft colors, right? Like soft pinks, soft yellows.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Mm.
but like, I don't know, it also just really makes me think of like femininity very
Mm.
like heavily. So to me, it always feels like really girly and feminine. And I feel like whenever I'm wearing pastels, I'm typically like pretty girly or feminine.
I think I own one what you would consider pastel colored shirt. That Toy Story shirt that says like 93 on it. I think it's pastel
Is there
pink. I
like
think
a,
it's a light
oh,
pink. It's like a very soft pink.
I don't remember that one,
But I think
but
that's all I own. I mean, I don't think I own. We don't. Me and Olivia are not pastel people.
that's fair.
I think
Lots of people
I'm
aren't.
more of a jewel tone human for colors that I wear. I'm told that
That's
I look the
fair.
best in jewel tones.
That's fair. That makes sense. Yeah, I wear all the colors. I wear all the rainbow, all the spectrums.
Well, that's nice.
So I embrace them all.
We're rolling the
But
dice again because I'm over pastel.
okay,
We've already talked about it, and there's nothing I
there's
can't.
nothing. There's nothing else there.
There's nothing else there. There's nothing else in
We
the
got it.
pastel. Guide is the next word. Guide.
Interesting.
So one of my dream jobs would be to be a like historical guide of some sort. So like I just at a historical site of relevance, and I was the dedicated guide that knew everything. So like
Does the site matter? Like, is it an outdoor, indoor site? Does the state is there specifics here? Or you just want to tell someone the history of a thing?
I just want to tell someone the history of a thing.
Okay.
I could be a tour guide in a museum, and I think I would be just as happy.
Okay.
Or honestly, an aquarium or zoo guide would also be super happy.
Okay.
There was me and Olivia went
Wait,
to.
what is it about the idea of you just like slowly walking backwards and like telling someone?
I love to teach, and when I teach things, it reinforces things with me. So it's 100% selfish in that I want to
Okay.
teach people so that I become the most obnoxious master at that thing. Like I just know all
Okay.
the things about it, right? It's like me and Olivia went
Uh-huh.
to Salem, like right after we started the process of moving in
Oh,
together.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we went briefly in October. Mistake. Don't go to Salem in October. It is
Yeah, was it
so busy.
crazy?
It was nuts, and it
I
was like height
figure.
of COVID. It was a terrible idea. It was awful. It was awful. We went because one of her good friend, well, not her good friends, but one of her friends from I think college had bought a cat tree, and their cat
Uh-huh.
never touched it, hated it. And we were like, oh, well, Harriet, our cat, is using chairs to get above us, like sit above us. What if we
Mm-hmm.
get her a cat tree? And then we saw this. So we were like, yeah, we'll drive out, we'll pick it up.
Oh, is Salem not far? I don't know geography
From
out there.
Boston, it's about an hour, I think, hour and a half.
Okay.
So it wasn't bad. So I was like, yeah, let's go to Salem. Why not? So we went up there, and we went too late in the day to really do much.
Okay.
But I wanted to see all the witchy things, right? Like there's a few witchy things. I was like, yeah, history. Let's check it out. So as we walked through some of the witchy things, there was a tour guide who had like the attached mic and was like guiding everyone
Mm-hmm.
through these things, and I was like just mesmerized by these humans. I was like, that looks like so much fun. They're
Oh my
having a
God.
blast.
You're
They
so
know
funny.
all about the witch trials. Like this is incredible. I love this. Like I would absolutely love to do their job. And I'm like,
Wow.
yeah. So that's my thoughts on guide. I would love to be one. I love them. I love guides. I love how nice they are every time they walk you through something. They always have those really calming voices too. They're like, and yes, this is exactly where that person
Mm-hmm.
was drawn and quartered for being a witch. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, their father tried to stop the trial and was unsuccessful. Yeah. Yeah. But he fortunately was buried right next
So
to them.
riveting.
Right?
Riveting.
But like that even toned voice of like, yeah, it's just and it's the confidence. It's the confidence that they know that they're right. And they're like,
Oh
come
my
at me, bro.
God,
I
what was
know
that
this.
accent?
What accent?
The way you said confidence.
Confidence? Their
Ooh.
confidence. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know. Is it Wisconsin? It might be
Yeah, I don't know.
Wisconsin.
I felt like, was that Midwest? But then I wasn't sure. Like, have you been
Ooh.
in Boston too long?
I don't know. Olivia had some drinks with some friends the other night, and I came for the tail end, and they were playing this game at the dinner table called Accents. And like
Okay.
you have an accent card, it's like New Yorker or whatever, and then it's got a sentence that you have to read in that accent. I
Oh, that's funny.
refused. I refused to play. I didn't want
Why?
anything to do with it. I'm so bad at accents. And Olivia took a whole semester on accents because she's
Oh,
went to school
okay.
for theater
Well,
and acting.
that's not fair though. That's like you playing baseball with a pro. You know what?
Right. So I didn't want anything, and she didn't want to play either, like everyone else was playing. And then,
Uh-huh.
of course, it lasted like 5 minutes before somebody else got like a New Yorker one, and Olivia was like, "That's not a New Yorker." I'm like, "Oh, sweetie, you're gonna roast everyone for this, aren't you?" And then she like took the cards and she like read it in New York accent, and they're like New Yorker, and she's like, "That's what a New Yorker sounds like." And I'm like, "This is why I'm not playing this game, because I would be so
No.
bad. I would be so bad. I don't want
But
anything
that's
to do
the
with it."
point. The point is to be bad because
Correct.
most people have not taken like a semester on accents. Most of us are just dicking around, and all of my accents sound the same, whether it's
Right.
Australian or
Yep.
New
Absolutely.
York or whatever.
And I would have been fine with that if Olivia was a stranger and I didn't know her and I just
Yeah, for
happened to
sure.
know
For
that she
sure.
was good at accents, I would have been like, yeah, I will embarrass myself in front of this pro. But
Yeah.
because she is my partner, I'm like, no, I must defend my honor. That doesn't exist. Those standards from her do not exist. This is 100%
Right.
made up in my head.
Right.
It, no, I just couldn't do it. I was like, nope, can't
No,
do
that's
it.
fair.
Can't do it.
I
I
wouldn't
can't do it.
either. I
So how do
wouldn't
you
either.
feel about
And
the
I'm
word
glad I know that.
guide now that we're
I definitely don't have the same passion that you do. That's for sure. I think like few people would though. Although I'd love to hear others. But yeah, guide just makes me think of Montana. Because because my ex was a guide on the red buses out there. And so
what are red buses?
there's so in Montana in Glacier National Park, they have these like, oh, you'd love this actually. So there's a lot of history in Glacier National Park, but
Yeah.
they have these like old, like vintage red buses that would have been around the park forever and take you on a tour of the park because it's like essentially a big loop. And so you like drive around. And he loved it out there. And so he lived out there for like 5 years just doing like park stuff until he could at some point before 5 years until he could become a red bus driver tour guide. And so like he did that for a few years, just like doing exactly that, driving around and pointing out mountaintops to people and like pointing out the old chalets and
Of
stuff
course,
and
he
like
had to
driving through the
ruin this
mountains.
for me. We don't
So
like him. I
yeah,
don't like him. We don't like him.
as you were talking, I was like, yeah, of course, you guys would like get along great, actually. But but
Gross.
yeah, so he did that for a long time, and he was always really good at that kind of stuff. Like when we didn't want to talk about Bird, that was one of like the things. I'm still very convinced now that he is most likely autistic, but he had special interests, and one of them were birds. And so like being outside, I would just get like all of these lectures and things about like birds. I mean, don't get me wrong, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about birds and trees and lots of things outside because he was a guide at a national park. But
So I work with someone who is diagnosed autistic, and she when before the spectrum was considered a spectrum, she was like Asperger's diagnosis, and now she's just like on the
okay.
spectrum kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
She's also a big bird fan and has like walked up to me and been like, check out this bird that was in my yard. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what is that? And she's like, it's a bluebird. I'm like a jaybird? She's like, no, a bluebird. I'm like, there's birds that are just bluebirds? And she's like, yeah, and this is what it is. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, that's so
like
cool.
that, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And like, I don't get to interact with a ton of autistic people and like autistic patients I get to interact with, but like autistic adults, like just in workplaces or out kind of in worlds existing, I just don't get to interact with a lot. Or I guess I would never really know if I was. This sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would be.
But it's true.
But
it's true.
So it's fascinating that you think that he may have been on the spectrum, and then someone I do know who is on the spectrum and vocal about being on the spectrum is like, yeah, birds.
Also
Like
into birds.
also into birds,
If
yeah.
if anyone listening is on autistic and into birds, please let us know
Yeah,
and see if
please
this is a
please
trend.
signal. Please signal, yeah. I follow a
Um,
few autistic creators who've been really good about being very open about what an adult who has autism being kind of in the world, and the varying degrees of what they all kind of go through is fascinating.
yeah. It's super interesting because the spectrum is so wide, and I would have never ever thought that about my ex
Yeah,
until I followed like a lot of different people on TikTok and a lot
yeah,
of people that talk about autism, and who have been diagnosed later in life. And I've
yeah.
also followed a lot of TikToks, which this has been fun. Autistic, a couple that is one person's autistic and the other person has ADHD, and
Hmm.
let me tell you, it was my life. Like, honestly, everything was like so, at that point, it was like so obvious to me, like his patterns, his routines, his
Mm.
habits, his safe foods, and then my chaos on top of that. Like, I was like, oh, okay. This makes a whole lot of sense. It
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. We like played off of each other's strengths to survive, basically.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. There's been very recently there was a lot of people who were like, hey, friendly reminder that just because you have ADHD does not mean that you also have autism, or that these two are not
right,
mutually exclusive, and like
right.
just because you have one does not mean you have the other, or like ADHD in and of itself is kind of a bit of a spectrum where like certain people with ADHD have these things and certain people with ADHD have these things, but just because you have these things does not mean you are X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I get it. Like a lot of people feel like people are getting on TikTok and they're self-diagnosing with all these things and
Totally.
whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but also we're all kind of finding our tribes, and hearing that other people suffer with other things is really nice. Like my musical
Totally.
ear syndrome stuff, like I thought I was it's a very small percent of the population who has it, and I just discovered someone that's relatively close in our lives has it.
Hmm.
And the other night, last night, since being sick, I experienced this episode of it that was totally different for me, where it felt like somebody shoved headphones over my ears and was slamming classical music into my ears. And it's
Oh, damn.
never, my musical ear syndrome has never been overwhelming. It's always been in the background to me. So
Hmm.
I sat straight up in bed and I cried. Like Olivia got up and was like, "What's going on?" And I told her what was happening. I was like, "I'm terrified." It's never
Hmm.
drowned out the rest of the sound around me. And I talked about it with someone
Yeah.
today about how I was concerned that me being sick is what's caused that. And she was like, "Oh wait, your musical ear syndrome's always in the background?" I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, mine's not. Mine is always random bursts of loud noise that nobody else hears, and then it goes away. And it's always
Oh,
classical."
wow.
She's like, "It's always classical." And I was like, "Shut up, seriously?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Whoa." Because mine is always like, it sounds like Mayday Parade. It's in the background. I can never identify what it is or who it is or any
Hmm.
lyrics or anything, but it's never classical and it's never loud. And last night it was like someone was forcibly shoving classical music into my ears, and it
Wow.
was overwhelming. And I just started sobbing.
Yeah.
It truly felt like I lost control. And so finding this person who is like, no, mine happens the opposite way, actually. Like your way sounds better. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, but wait, if it's happening to you that way, it's probably normal. And that's nice, right? Like to hear that this one episode of it being worse for
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
isn't totally abnormal. It's probably just
Totally.
a version of the thing that I have, but the thing that I have is still just the thing that I have, and it's not like
Yeah.
getting worse or different or whatever. And I think that's a lot of what we're experiencing now, is that we're all finding
Totally.
people out there who have these things, and we're like, oh great, so it's not. I'm getting in a lot of trouble with that word normal today.
I know.
But I
But no,
just
I
mean
get what you're saying.
baseline. Like it's not
Yeah.
baseline.
Well, and I think like especially with things like autism and ADHD, they happen internally, right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
don't have, unless you are, nonverbal or some other symptom where like it physically is obvious that
Mm-hmm.
something is different. Like it's so mental, and we all, like, I was thinking about this earlier, like, so I hear so many people have conversations where it sounds like they're talking about the same thing, but they're definitely not. Like
Yeah.
we put so many assumptions behind like conversations that like you and I, because you and I are using the same word for a similar experience,
Mm-hmm.
that you understand what I mean in terms of frequency or intensity or loudness or whatever, but we don't actually ever sit down and ask ourselves that. Like, wait, what do you mean by that? Or like, when you say that, what do you mean? And so I just feel like we end up having these conversations where we're like, oh, yeah, what I'm experiencing is normal because this person agreed with me, but they weren't listening to you. They don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about a different version of whatever that is that they go through. And so finally, people are able to see, like, oh, wait, at least that's the realization was for me, like, oh, wait, this isn't normal. Like, my brain, like everybody's brain doesn't work like this. You're not going to go into a rage because I interrupt you because you're constantly repeating a list in your head. And if you stop repeating that list, you will absolutely be derailed for the whole rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that I have to be clear and explain that because that's not everybody's experience. And so I think TikTok has been amazing for that. And I think more people are coming out and like going, getting tested and getting diagnosed and things like that because we're finally seeing that same thing. Like, wait a minute.
This isn't normal.
Like, yeah, like, wait, what do you mean this isn't as hard for you as it is for me? What do you mean
like,
you don't struggle to shower in the morning? Like,
it's like
what?
the people who don't think in pictures or words.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like the people that don't, there are people who do not have an inner voice at all. Like when you think of a
I know,
word and you're
that's so
reading
crazy.
internally, like people do not have an inner
Yeah.
voice. And
Oh,
I'm
and
like,
I can't visualize. Did we talk about that? I can't see images in my head. That doesn't happen.
no, we've never talked about that. You can't visualize things in your head.
Yeah, there's a word for that, and now I forget what it is, but I figured that out through TikTok too. Yeah, there's no, like, if I close my eye, if you're like, close your eyes and imagine an apple, my head is describing an apple.
So
there's just words.
So you're, oh my God. Your head is just saying the words like round, red, apple.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
but
basically,
you can't
it's
physically
like
see
a
an
narrator.
apple.
No, it's basically like a narrator is explaining, like, okay, like apple shape, green stem, like, yeah.
Oh my God. I've never met a person like this. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's
also rare, I guess.
Have you been able to meditate?
No, so that's why I didn't know that, like, this is why I've been struggling with meditation. So like whenever people say like, oh, visualize this, I thought we were all literally just sitting here in the dark, like just pretending,
just
to
saying
imagine
words in
things.
our brain.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. so people are like, imagine your happy place. I'm just like, I don't know where people go because I close my eyes, it's just dark.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I had no idea. So yes, I've always struggled with meditation because of that. So I've found different ways to like adapt to help with that because I can feel sensations, but I just can't visualize things. So like if you're saying like, imagine you're walking through a forest, it's easier for me to imagine like sunlight on my skin or like wind on my face or like hear birds like that. I can almost feel.
So you can remember sounds.
Yeah.
Can you remember smells?
Yeah.
You just can't put the picture.
There's just no picture. Yeah, there's no picture. So it's just like like I'm constantly reading a book, kind of like there's just a narrator constantly telling me what's going on.
So when I was describing my Toy Story shirt earlier, if you would have remembered it, you would have been like, pink Toy Story shirt.
Yeah.
But you would not have been able to put the picture in your head.
No, what probably would have happened would be like me describing like where I would have remembered you wearing it. So like if it was like you snapping me in the car or something like that, my head would just be like Kristine, car, Snapchat, pink shirt.
But not the image.
But no, yeah, no pictures.
Oh my God, this is fascinating. Oh my God.
So there's a word for it and I should Google it, but I'm on my phone.
Here, I'll Google
because when I first figured this out, I was like asking everyone because I like saw the TikTok and I was like, no, this is not real. This is not real. No, there's no way. And then I asked all of my friends and I was like, all right, close your eyes and picture a red apple. What do you see? And they're like, a red apple. And I was like, no, but there's like a picture in your head. And they were like, I mean, yeah, like, it's not like clear.
It's called aphantasia.
That's it. Yep. Yeah. So
Phenomenon in which
it's like a
people are
thing.
unable to visualize imagery. While most people are able to conjure an image of a scene or face in their minds, people with aphantasia cannot. Imagine that it is a warm summer day and you are sitting on the side of a swimming pool, but you can't because you'd feel the sunshine, you'd remember the smell of the pool, but you can't.
Yeah.
It'd be like chair,
Yeah,
pool.
it kind of, yeah, it like my brain will describe it. It's like it's much more narrative than I'm making it seem. It would be more like, okay, like if I'm trying to imagine myself sitting on the side of a pool, it'd be like, okay, there's like a hot, like the grates from the like the chair, right? And then like the sun's hot on my skin and there's probably a towel around me. I can probably smell chlorine. Like I'm just describing.
But you're just describing in all words. You're not.
Yeah. There's not like a scene in my head.
I just,
So like if so you tell me, that's why I was always confused, because like if you tell me to imagine something and then describe what I'm seeing, I can't do that because things don't I don't know there are things until they're described. So like I can't be like, okay, imagine you're in a room, tell me what you see in the room. It's like, well, I don't know.
you actually have to tell me what the room is first.
Yeah, like you kind of got to tell me what's going on. I mean, I guess I can start. It doesn't mean I don't have an imagination. Like I can start imagining things, but like I'm literally making it up as I go.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. Now I have a question that you can choose not to answer.
hmm
Would hallucinogenics change this?
I don't know. I've been curious about that. Um,
Because now I'm just curious, would LSD or like mushrooms make you hallucinate something, but rather than it being in the physical sense, in the subconscious sense, in your mind, where
mhm.
if you got quote blitzed and then tried to meditate, if that would give your brain the ability to do
Hmm.
that.
I wonder. I don't know actually, because I've like never done LSD and I've only taken mushrooms once, and like I was too scared, so I took like half of what everybody else did, and then there was a human
It's
there that
smart.
was making the whole evening very like off vibe, so I was very happy about that, and I just tried to stay like pretty clear-headed. So I don't have enough experience to give you a yes or a no, but that is interesting. I didn't think about that.
I'm not encouraging drug use, but I would be fascinated to know the answer to this. Anybody in the satisfying static world, if you have aphantasia, or if you're
Oh
discovering now that
yeah,
you have aphantasia and you regularly use altering substances, could you
please let
please
us
let me
know.
know
We're
if
curious.
it allows you to imagine things? And even one step further, I'd be fascinated to know in a good science study if people with aphantasia have more visual hallucinations in the outside world than people without.
Would Oh,
Like, I'm very
like
curious if they hallucinate more than
I
other people
that's
would.
really interesting actually. Um like hallucinating is like with your eyes open. Yeah. That's actually really interesting because I feel like I'm it's easier for me to imagine things with my eyes open. Like I can almost kind of have like if I'm trying to imagine like a picture on the wall, like I can almost kind of have a vague view of that. But
Can
like if
you
I close my
can
eyes there's
you
like nothing.
right? But if you're staring at a wall, could you like picture what a picture would look like on a wall?
Um
Ish, kinda.
ish kind of, yeah,
Does your
like
brain
very
make a
vaguely.
picture? Like your brain is not projecting the words in the shape of a picture frame, right?
No, yeah, no. It's just
Okay.
yeah, it would be like a picture. And if I stare long enough, then like yeah, I can almost kind of imagine more. And I'm really curious if anyone listening has this and this is true for them too. But like I've always said, like it's always and I've done this in meditation too, where I'll leave my eyes open because I feel like it's easier for me to imagine with my eyes open than it is with them closed. So
I
I
have to
wonder.
imagine that's because you're using visual cues. You're
Probably
using visual things to build the things instead of words, which you think would
yeah.
be easier. You use pictures to build more pictures
That makes sense, actually. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way because, yeah, if I'm trying to picture a picture on the wall, I have references all around
to
me.
look at. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would make a lot of sense. But anyway, that's how it works for me.
This is fascinating. Thank you for being our guide to aphantasia.
You're welcome. Thank you
We
for being our
circle
guide to what is your music thing? Because
musical
that's the
ear
first
syndrome.
musical
This is the
ear
first time we've
syndrome.
talked about that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
musical ear syndrome. So I have being on the ambulance and everything, I had some siren damage to my ears, and so I had very, 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 very minimal hearing loss at a certain decibel. I don't know how
Oh.
or why, but so at 21, I started to hear music, and it sounded like Mayday Parade, like it was just this alternative rock in the background. I thought my ex was gaslighting me because I was like, "Where the fuck is this music coming from? Turn it off." And she's like, "I'm not playing any music. What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "I'm not kidding." She's like, "You're fucking crazy." And at 21, you could develop schizophrenia, and I'm like, "Oh my god,
Oh,
am I
okay.
schizophrenic?"
Yeah.
So I went to my doctor and she's like, I don't think you're schizophrenic. This is an auditory hallucination. I'm not really sure what it's about. Went to an audiologist and they were like, yo, you don't have hearing at like this decibel level, whatever. But your brain, instead of letting you just not hear it, decided to filter in some music in the background. So my brain,
Wait, your brain puts on elevator music?
100%. Like, but it only puts on elevator music when it's already loud. So like if I'm in a crowded room and there are people talking and stuff's going on and I can't hear certain pieces of it, my brain is like, you missed something. Instead of that, instead of that, it's like Jersey just got colder and like that's what's happening. But it's no words and it's not music I ever
Oh,
recognized.
wow.
It's just like
Yeah.
an alternative rock that sounds familiar. It's like tip of the tongue phenomenon. It sounds familiar, but I
Yeah.
can't identify what it is. I can't hear what they're saying. Like, but it's going on. And it goes on
That's so
so
crazy.
often that I just
Yeah.
stopped asking people
If
if they
they
hear the music that I'm talking about
Wow.
because it's so annoying. But so it's never loud and it's never in my forefront. So last night
That's
when the
scary.
classical
Yeah.
music felt like someone was shoving over the ear headphones into my head and blasting this classical music, it was interrupting. It was the first time that an auditory hallucination had been interrupting.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what is this? And I think it was a mixture of, we had just watched, over 24 hours, I watched 16 hours of Bridgerton. Because I watched the whole
Okay.
first season and the whole second season, which has a ton of classical music in it. Like a ton of classical music in it.
Okay.
I'm sick.
True.
And I had a White Claw. And we went to bed 2 hours late. So I think a mixture of alcohol,
Blame it on
being
the White
sick.
Claw.
I know. Alcohol, being sick, and watching 16 straight hours of classical
That's
music.
a lot. Yeah.
And I was a little stressed, right? Like I was...
Yeah.
And stress, I think, just caused this one-off episode. And that's why when I talked to that other person and they were like, oh no, mine is the opposite. Mine's always those loud, intrusive things
Oh, that'd be terrible.
that like startle me awake.
Right.
As compared to the silent in the background things that you have. And I'm like, oh. So I feel better knowing that this could just be an episode and not like a new development or whatever.
Man, brains are so interesting.
Brains are so interesting. I did not know you didn't know about musical ear syndrome. I didn't know about aphantasia. So here we are. Here we are.
We learned a lot today, and we definitely went over our time, but I feel like it was worth it.
This is an extended cut. You guys are welcome.
Let's hope people make it this far.
They better. All right. Until next time.